Hi, welcome to Famous Secret Agent for our fourth episode into our world-building experiment. Today we're going to be talking about cataclysmic events. We're starting in 3, 2, 1.
Today we're going to be talking about cataclysms and the big events that created our physical world. Again, we are working off of the Fantasy World Builder Guide, 30 Days to Build a World. And we're just gonna get going and pick up from where we left off.
In 15 minutes or less, we are tasked to jot down some of the really big land features you want in your story. And just to think, what if that were made by ... Write down a couple of causes for those features and scars and stick them into your notebook. I've been watching this show called Raised by Wolves. It's on HBO Max. They start off by crashing into this planet and forming a hole with their spaceship. So I just thought about a hole for a long time, and I was like, I don't want to rip off their idea of a spaceship, but it is a constant in that show. They always go back to the hole because that's where they started from. And I thought it would be really cool if there was this giant bullworm, kind of like in SpongeBob. We're all thinking about that same episode, and where the bullworm just makes a giant hole to the center of the earth, and it's just this endless pit that people go to, and years and years go by and legend becomes myth, and no one really knows the exact origins, but there is a giant hole. And then what jumped into my head was giant godly babies, these larger than life babies that are responsible for these cataclysmic events that shape the land of the area. So I thought the sand could be, back in the day when this planet was formed, a giant baby having a temper tantrum on a bed of rocks, thereby turning it into sand. The caves are the baby's form of hide and seek, so they created these structures, these natural structures, to hide themselves as to win hide and seek.
I love the hole because immediately I say what's at the bottom, and I just think there's so much we could do with that in terms of what's the lore and what's the history, and if giant babies is what that is, maybe this big worm was the arch enemy of these giant babies or something, I don't know. But so there's that, which I think is really cool. I don't know that I'm totally sold on babies, but I think it's already raising the question, are we going to have a culture where these stories that they tell about giant babies or whatever their ancients are the stories that they tell true, and is that actually what formed things, or is it just a little bit of an oral history culture, and it's the way that they're making sense of the world? I'm already kind of asking this question: are we supernatural or are we grounded in realism? And I love when worlds make things out to be very realistic, and then all of a sudden there is something that is just beyond understanding.
It would be really cool to have that idea of having this really serious planet, whatever is going on currently, but they're religious fanatics that praise Titan baby, that back in the day the world was made by babies, and then there are people that are there's no baby in the sky that made all of this,
I'm getting super Teletubby vibes of
Right. the giant baby sun.
Yeah.
Can I throw one at you guys? Because I've kind of been thinking. I really like doors, like doors that can lead somewhere, and I like the idea of some natural entity. Like think like kind of like a Grand Canyon of sorts, or like something that was maybe created by just like a global occurrence, a global disaster, a natural disaster that shaped something that is very solid, but like not it's very dangerous still to walk on. Like it's beautiful in a lot of ways, but it's very dangerous. And I love the idea of like somewhere deep inside of there's a door, and we don't know where it leads to, and it's like the thing of legends on where it could lead to, but it's like something that was shaped by a natural occurrence, a natural disaster, and by accident it created a door or a portal or whatever you will into something larger.
Steven, do you want to take it away on Thunder? Do you have an idea?
For the Thunderfields, there are like a ton of trees.
Yeah, the trees are probably dead looking.
Right, but they're all dead. What intrigues me is this idea of somehow there being a natural disaster that like somehow petrified these trees, or right, because they're dead but they haven't fallen. And they're whatever is there, like they are not blooming. So what's the mystery behind the reason why they're not alive? Like what it's just a field where there's perpetually these dead trees standing. And even though it has everything you would need for life, it has water. And obviously at one point there was life there because the trees grew. Something like stripped all of the nutrients from the soil, and something like I'm wondering I don't know what kind of natural disaster could do that.
Yeah.
So maybe that area that we're talking about, the lightning field, has an entity that is super dangerous that everyone avoids, that is sucking all of the life force out of that particular area. And maybe that lightning is being drawn to it as like a source of power as well.
Yeah.
What if it's spreading? Like, what if this is an issue that we have this thing and we all have known it's always been there, and it sucks the life out of whatever goes near it, but one of the like events of this world is that it's slowly spreading?
That would be cool.
To civilizations in the nearby area.
Yeah.
This feels like the global warming issue of the world, right? Like it's the issue that like it's always going on in the background. It might not be the A plot and the main conflict at first, but like by the time you get to like Avengers, the third one, you meet Thanos, and all of a sudden this is what everything has been leading up to.
This is the White Walkers in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a slow burn. It's a slow burn.
I like mountains. I think mountains are real cool because a mountain can be a volcano. It can just be a mountain. It can be like icy. It can be like in a rainforest and just be kind of like a giant mountain hill thing. You can also dig into mountains and have tunnels. And also like mountains allow for like that stereotypical like journey across the world, climbing those mountains. So, I mean, you gotta have that stereotypical journey. Like you could have one mountain range that is drastically different from north to south or whatever way it runs. Like it can start off very like rugged and cold and whatnot, and by the time you get to the end of it, if you were to travel the whole thing, it is like this lush, beautiful area of mountains.
Tim, what were you going to say before about when you were bouncing off of whatever I had said?
But I have an unfinished thought that I rather like, but it's an unfinished thought. So if you would bear with me, I'd like to share it with you. An eclipse that happened a long time ago, and it was originally an exciting event, but the eclipse just stopped and stayed way longer than it should have. And something disastrous happened as a result of the eclipse not moving and staying. And even though it was long ago, maybe in no one's lifetime even, the entire culture still fears that this will happen again.
You could even like tie that into the thunder fields of like an eclipse came and all of a sudden there was no, if it was like whatever, there was no sunlight, so these trees all died and now they're dead, and then they stayed dead and now they're afraid that everything will die. I mean, obviously we have a cool idea for that too, but like you could tie it into a lot.
Yeah, I was thinking that the eclipse's return, as well as the spread of the dead trees or the thunder trees, could be linked somehow. I think you can have something that makes characters question what their societal norms are and what they believed in their entire life. And so you can have something that may have been there thousands of years before that's just been off the map. And it's been gone for so long that these characters will be so set in their ways. They'll be so sure. They'll be conservative Republicans. They'll be very unwilling to change. And so, but you can have what happens when those things come back and they're forced to look in the face the thing that they've been denying this whole time and been so sure like their way was the right way.
All right, so that was a lot. We have a lot going on. We just had a really long conversation, but it was really great. There was a lot of stuff in there. There were a lot of really cool ideas that came out of it. We have maybe a train on a mountaintop that will one day come into being. We maybe have an eclipse that happened that stayed way too long, and who knows if these things will happen. But the things that we do know and that we're going to use in the next episode is that our map of this world is going to have a hole, it's going to have mountain ranges, it's going to have a lake, and it will have the thunder fields. So next to find out what that looks like. And last but not least, Nick.
No!